was owned by so-called Playboy in Germany. It has like a bunch of stuff in the background of the mods that you could purchase.
And next to it is a wide body SCCs, but they're rolled up.
Correct, exactly. They put 2 turbochargers.
Let's take a look at one of your prized possessions, I think.
Yeah, I think it's one of the world's prized possessions. The idea is that I own the car legally. Mm-hmm. The car is in this garage, but I don't feel that I own it because I just take care of it for the next 10, 20 years, and you know, I can't really say that I own the car.
No.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because we preserve them, and then somebody else is going to be looking at this car 30, 40 years, hopefully 30, 40 years from now. And quite frankly, most of these cars, or some of them for sure, will be in the museum.
Could you tell something more about the specific history of this car?
Well, the car is very special. It's special in different ways.
Yeah. One of the ways is that it's an original, all documented AMG hammer.
Correct.
Right?
Correct. And a little history, you know, flashback. Hammer is the W124 chassis car that has a M117 engine, you know, modified by AMG. They modified it in different ways. There were 5.0, 5.2, 5.4, 5.6, and a 6.0. At the end of the production, AMG were installing 6.0 dual overhead engines in a W24 chassis, which was very unusual. And the car was faster than Countach, Lamborghini Countach in the 1980s.
And that for a chassis, a sedan or coupe-like chassis.
Correct.
It was very different.
Correct. Well, basically, it was a family car that was as fast as a Countach or Ferrari Testarossa, and so by adding 2 extra valves per cylinder and basically having a dual overhead cam, the torque was increased by almost 100%, so it doubled the torque.
Yeah, I think it was double the torque compared to the maximum torque on the standard M117.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
only half the gas.
Yeah. So it was almost double the torque, and it added 100 horsepower. So the car was, you know, the first, I might be wrong, but it reached 300 kilometers an hour. I actually spoke to Hartmut Feijl, who worked on developing
and building
and developing the hammer, and he told me the story, the different things that they've tried to get the car past the 300 kilometer mark.
Right.
And the first car that they did it with actually went 304, 305 kilometers.
So it was already, the goal was already set.
Right. And the way they achieved it, they've tried a lot of things, but they couldn't quite get it up to 300. And I believe the way they achieved it is that they used the same method that some of the Porsches used at the time, where at a certain speed the radiator
would close. So maybe some kind of mechanism with flaps on the inside to reduce the air drag.
Exactly, that's what they did.
Okay.
And that's per Hartmut. That's not a story that somebody told me. He actually.
That's what came from
That's
himself.
what and then so the car is very special. I believe that the AMG was bought by Mercedes because of this particular car.
Because of the whole innovation process and everything.
Well, it was a supercar. This car beat supercars.
Yeah, and that's for a normal sedan.
Correct. So
In the
they
80s,
produced.
from the 80s.
Right, they produced, there were 13 cars built, hammers built in America, in North America. 5 of them were coupes. One was the station wagon.
Right.
That's the one in the world.
Right.
And but worldwide, I think the total number of hammers built was 49.
Okay.
So it's a special car in its own right.
In its own right, yeah.
But then this car has a wild story behind it, as it was purchased by a guy. He bought it at in Beverly Hills. There was a dealer that sold most of the hammers that were built for U.S. market.
Yeah.
They all were sold through a place in Beverly Hills. So he gets on the road and he gets pulled over for speeding, right?
Of course, because what else would you do in such a car?
Yeah, in the 80s.
Yeah.
You know, you can't keep your foot off the pedal, gas pedal.
Definitely.
So he gets arrested for speeding, and they find controlled substance in the car. And because of, you know, they find whatever they find, the car gets seized.
Impounded.
Exactly. The story goes that the car was used in the undercover operations.
Okay, by the police
By
itself.
the police.
Right.
And then,
Interesting.
so that's the story, that's the legend. And then at one point, they sold, because all the seized property eventually gets sold at the police auctions. And that's how government gets some of the money for the budget.
Yeah, right.
And so they sold it. There was a John Deere, his agent saw the car at the auction. He knew it was going to be at the auction, at the police auction. John Deere bought this car through his agent. And a few years later, he was moving to Japan, I think, to play. And he didn't want to take the car with him.
So it stayed here.
He sold the car. There's a famous place in California. It's called Symbolic. I can't remember the rest of the name, but they deal with high-end exotic cars.
Yeah.
So they bought the car from John Deere, or he traded it, and then they sold it to the guy who I actually bought the car from.
Okay.
He
Put it in the auction. At the auction.
Not at the auction.
Okay.
The player, the John Deere, traded the car to the Symbolic. I can't remember. It's the name of the dealership.
Yeah.
In La Jolla, California. That dealership's been there forever. They deal with exotic cars. So he sold it to them, and they sold it to Scott, the guy I bought it from, who actually had a body shop for many years and knew a lot of people in the business. So he came, and he was from, I believe, from Arizona. So he actually took a mechanic, Ferrari mechanic, with him, a friend of his. They went to California for the weekend to look at the car.
Check out the car.
They looked at the car, they bought it.
Yeah.
He brought it back to Arizona, and this fact is not known. It wasn't disclosed at the auction, I don't believe, but he actually sold the car to a customer of his.
Okay.
And the guy got sick and sold him the car back.
Oh, really?
Years later.
Yeah.
And then Scott did not drive the car. He put it in the storage for, I think, 14 or 15 years.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's how the car has that,
Yeah.
you know. And then before selling it at the auction, this time, they recommissioned the car. They replaced, the fuel system and everything on it. Get it up to spec, and I bought it at the auction from Scott.
Right. And now it's fully operating, driving, running.
Yes.
Okay. Also got the 190E owned by Bruno Sacco.
Yes. At the end of the production for 201 chassis in 1992, Mercedes decided to to build a limited series of 190s in 4 colors.
Right.
And they called it the Avant-Garde collection.
Yeah.
Yep. So, so even though it's the same green, one of them is called Verde. The other one is called a different name. I don't know why. I can't really see the difference, but there's got to be something different, even though they look the same.
Yeah.
Some of them, they all came in with different engines. Some of them came with a diesel engine.
Right.
Some of them came in a sport line version with a stick shift. Some of them came with automatic.
Different variations.
Right. So from 1.8 to 2.3 to 2.5 in the diesel. And one of these cars, this one in particular, was owned by Bruno Sacco,
Yeah.
the lead designer for the Mercedes for a couple decades.
Yeah. You have a picture of him too, right? Standing next to the car.
Right.
In front of his house, probably.
Yep. And this car is fully documented. I have a title that has his name on it. I have the license plate. I have a picture where he's actually standing by this car with the same license plate.
Right.
In the picture. I also have receipts, service records. I have a book that thick that has his signature on bunch of bunch of stuff that, you know, when he was buying the car.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty interesting history.
Real nice and cool piece of history for all the Mercedes even.
Correct.
Because from this was the predecessor of the C-Class, right? The second generation, the W202 was named the C202.
Correct.
Nice.
Yeah.
And here in front of us we have a W140 with Lawrence package, right?
Yes, we have many W140s.
Yeah.
This is a
Multiple.
W140
Side.
Yeah, you can tell I like W140s. I believe these are the one of the best cars for both the driver and the passenger.
Yeah, right.
So either whichever way you prefer. If you prefer to drive it, you're gonna be happy.
Yeah.
If you prefer to be
sit-
driven,
Sit in the back.
you're taken care of.
Yeah.
Either way, you're in good shape.
Most of the times it's like riding a flying carpet.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Good
Yeah.
comparison.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. This one was very special, because if you take a look at it, it almost looks like brand new, but that is for a reason. Because how many miles had it?
This car has 278 miles on it.
278 miles.
So they call them delivery miles.
Yeah. Driving from the dealership or from the factory to the dealership.
Yeah, and the gas
So
station.
yes.
Yeah. This is a very special car. It has almost, it's a brand new car essentially. I have floor mats that are still sealed from a factory. The car, reason why it has so low miles is because it was stolen from the dealership. It's a 1992 model, but it was at the dealership in 1991. And the manager parked the car, went home, came back the next day, and the car was gone.
And it was stolen, uncovered covered for like 10 years, and after 10 years it was uncovered by somebody, right?
Exactly. So the car was stolen, was missing for a decade or even more. And then there was a call to the police from an old couple that told the police to come and, get the car. They told them that there was a car sitting in the driveway for 3-4 days. They said it was a nice Mercedes, but we don't know whose car that is. Please come and check it out. The cops came, ran the VIN in their database, and discovered that the car was stolen.
Yeah.
And so they took the car. Obviously, the dealership already received money compensation from the insurance carrier.
Long time ago.
So the car went back to the insurance that paid out on the claim previously, and the insurance sold it at the auction. The dealer, car dealer, saw the car, knew how special it was with no miles, bought it at the auction,
Right.
and then kept the car, sold it to a guy who I bought it from. And by the way, I bought 2 cars from the same person at the same time.
Right?
Right, so the guy who I bought it from tried to buy a low mile W140s with the idea to keep them and resell them for crazy money later on.
Right.
So-
Because they will stay brand new.
Correct, correct. And that car is the 140 600 SEL with 1,400 miles on it. Has
1,400.
1,418 miles on it.
Right.
So he kept both of them for over 10 years, and then tried to sell them for crazy amount of money as a pair.
Yeah.
Could not sell them for 3, 4, 5 years. Got a hold of me, asked me to help him put a price on these, price them, so he could finally sell them. I gave him an analysis of the market, you know, with the explanation why the cars are worth what I thought they would worth.
Yeah, of course.
So I gave him the number, and as I was doing all of that, you know, 3, 4, 5 days into it, I realized that maybe I should buy him.
Yeah.
It never really dawned on me to buy him at the beginning, but as I talked to him, I decided to buy him. So I told him that, hey, the number I gave you is the number I'm willing if you want to sell him.
You're offering to
Right.
him.
He disappeared, then came back, and I offered him $25,000 more.
Yeah.
He agreed to it, and we made a deal. So I ended up buying these 2 brand new cars.
Two brand. Right. The Brabus Coupe.
Here it is, the Brabus Coupe.
It was full Brabus option, engine, exterior, interior,
Yep.
fine Brabus leather and everything.
This is the beast.
The V12 engine, the second generation of Mercedes V12.
So as you mentioned, this is a full conversion. Suspension, exhaust, engine. Engine was enlarged to 6.3.
Right.
Custom full Brabus interior. Two-tone red with beige. The car is 2007, has a different body kit. It drives incredibly well. I mean, it's a Mercedes, it's a CL model, so it's
Right.
built, you know, for the driver.
Yeah,
The car in stock version is great as is. You can imagine what happened to the car when a Brabus put his touches on it.
Definitely, definitely. Should be true master to drive around.
Yep. So it's a very special car. The guy contacted me. Same thing, wanted me to buy the car. I couldn't do it at the time for different reasons.
Right, right.
You know, we talked for a few years. I tried to help him sell the car in Europe. The car was far away. It was in Eastern Europe, actually Asia almost.
Okay.
It wasn't
on the border of.
right. So it's in Kazakhstan, and you know, not the easiest place to buy a car from.
No.
And then a few years passed. I kept talking to. I didn't really. I wasn't the guy initiated the conversations, but
Yeah.
I ended up somehow staying in contact with him.
Right, right.
And at the end of it, I grew to like the car to the point where I was willing to do whatever to get it.
Right.
See, there's this process where sometimes you have to build a relationship with the car, and some people will call me crazy because they'll say, how can you build a relationship with a piece of metal?
But as car guys, as enthusiasts, I can understand you because sometimes it needs a bit more time to grow on you. But eventually you'll see, you get to know the car, you see what it's worth, what it means to you, and how special it is, and the story around it, behind it, is also a thing that counts for it.
Correct, and some people will look at certain people and say, hey, this guy is lonely, or he doesn't have a life, or he probably doesn't have kids. Well, I have kids. I don't have a boring life. I have a full life, but I have a hobby, I have a passion, I have interests in these older machines that to me are pieces of art, rolling art,
and most of them
sculpture,
most of them are even a piece of history from one car brand only.
Exactly. Yeah. So when I say I developed a relationship with the car, is not for the lack of other relationships.
No, of course not.
You know, I don't live in this garage. I have a life, but there are other part of me that actually loves cars to the level where I get married to the car.
Yeah.
So, and that's what happened in this case, where I developed, I grew to really love the car.
To get a feeling for it.
And I ended up doing some stuff to get the car. It was not an easy task to get the car out of Kazakhstan.
No, I can understand.
Crazy, but
eventually we're talking about it and standing next to it.
Right. And the borders and everything else, the car had to be transported a couple thousand kilometers through a bunch of borders to get to Germany, because you cannot ship the car from Kazakhstan, even though they have access to the water. But nobody, like U.S. brokers do not work directly with people in Kazakhstan to get there. Yeah. But at the end of it, the car is here, you know, a great addition to the collection.
Definitely. Yeah. Now the last car that stands out, the W202, the C43.
Yes, sir. Right? Correct. So this is the pace car. This is an official AMG pace car. AMG participated in a couple of races. They were sponsored by PPG. PPG is a manufacturer of paint.
Yeah.
And Mercedes ordered 2 cars from AMG to be used in a race, in a FedEx race. And AMG built 2 cars. One of them is the one we're looking at right now, and the other one
with the purple in front and orange in back.
Exactly. So it's the identical car to this one.
Yeah.
Though it was painted orange to purple.
The colors were on the way right.
Yeah. Right. And this one is painted purple to orange.
Yeah. And it's painted completely, right?
Correct. So the car was completely disassembled, completely. These are not stickers. They're not decals. This is not a wrap that people are used to seeing. This is all
within the doors.
Yeah. So this was all painted by AMG. The cost to do the paint job was $30,000.
Really?
Yes, back in the day.
Per car.
Per car. Right. The orange car had a roll cage installed and was used on the track. This car was used to drive VIP clients that come VIP AMG clients that come to watch the race. And it was mostly parked under the tent. It has 2,000 miles on it. Virtually a brand new car, since it was disassembled to be painted.
Yes.
With the engine out. Right. You could not title the car. Mercedes, it was too high of a liability to disassemble the car, put it together, and title it later. So it was not roadworthy. Therefore, they ordered to destroy both of the cars.
Yes.
And the orange one ended up being dismantled.
Yeah.
And this one survived.
This one survived the
the guy took
Gone.
it. There was a big time dealer, car dealer, Porsche dealer, for the most part, Brahman, I believe his brand is, and he had a private collection, and he grabbed this car to be part of his collection. It stood there for many years. Then he gifted the car to one of his friends, and the guy, when he gifted it, it had 800 miles. So the guy put about 1,500 miles on it and decided to sell it. It was hard to sell it because it did not have a title.
Yeah.
So it was a broker got a hold of it,
Yeah.
and ended up selling it to me. We couldn't figure out the price, so he sold it to me for a price of a brand new C43
Right.
of
right.
that year.
Yeah. It's difficult to put a price tag on something which, on cars with only 2 examples were ever made, with one only existed, right?
Correct.
It's,
Correct. So later I was able to get the title for the car. So the car is can be, it is registered,
Yeah.
so it can be driven on the road.
That's a nice thing. Nice thing. Well, I think that concludes the tour around your collection from Mercedes, because you also collect other cars. I want to thank you very much, and hopefully invite you and come welcome you when you come at the collection of the Benzcollector.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes,
Thanks for coming out.
Thank you very much.
Yes, it's been a pleasure.
This concludes our trip to Greg and his collection Garage90x, which we still wanted to give a special thanks to, for inviting us over and sharing his cars and their stories with us. We also wanted to give a big thanks to the Patina Collective Group for still having us over in the limited time frame that they had. We had a great time even without being able to film.